I'm your host, Mike St. Clair with Viper RIP Paranormal, and today we're going to be reviewing the P-SB7 Spirit Box and its applications for paranormal investigation. We're also going to be comparing this to the Radio Shack Hack Ghost Box, and if you have not seen our review on that, I encourage you to check that out. I will include a link in the description. Now, the P-SB7 is a compact unit, and it features the AM/FM radio frequency sweep design used in the original Frank's box, created by Frank Sumption and made popular by paranormal researcher Chris Moon, whom I do not support and do not respect. But then again, our team has never charged for phony services either. The Frank's box is a much larger unit, and it does feature the frequency sweep design as well as some other components, and it was believed that you could use this for direct two-way spirit communication. After the Frank's box, people started coming up with their own designs using the same frequency sweep, some with other components, some without. But eventually, someone discovered that you could take a certain brand of AM/FM handheld radio, perform a small modification at home, and have the exact same frequency sweep device for a fraction of the price, minus a few bells and whistles. Now, most of these radios came from Radio Shack, and they were named the Radio Shack Hack or the Shack Hack Ghost Box. Now, let's take a look at the P-SB7 and the Radio Shack Hack and compare the two and check out some of their features. Here we have the two units side by side. Now, the first difference is the price. The Radio Shack Hack, depending upon the model, would run you anywhere from $25 to $40. Now, the P-SB7 is a little bit heavier in the pockets. It's going to run you about $80 to $100, depending upon where you get it. Next is the size. As we can see, the Radio Shack Hack is a little bit bigger. Now, not all of the models were this big, and some were even bigger than this. The P-SB7 is one size. It's small, compact. It's about the size of a cell phone. Next, we have the features. So what does this thing really do? Well, both units feature a continuous frequency sweep of the AM or FM bands. Now, there are a few theories out there as to how this works for communicating with spirits. The first theory that I remember hearing was ghosts were actually able to come in and use the different bits and pieces and fragments of the announcers and fragments of music coming over and make those words their own and spit them out through the unit in their own form of speech. Now, that doesn't really make sense to me, because, I mean, how would a ghost know exactly what's going to come on, exactly what station, and exactly how to get on there and use that and make that their own voice? It just doesn't make sense to me. The second theory is that ghosts or spirits are using the changing frequencies themselves and the noise generated by the unit to speak. Now, if this thing really did work, that theory would seem to make a little more sense to me than the original one. Now, both of these units feature an AM/FM band with the sweep. Only the Radio Shack Hack, you have to do the mod, and it's very simple. You just take the back off, and it's a little pin that you can pull, and that does the modification for you, and it's very simple on all the units. Now, I don't know which units are hackable now. I know they have some new ones, and I've heard people say that you can't hack the new ones, or some of the new ones won't hack, or they will hack, but they're not working right, or there's no pin to pull, or there's no pin to bend down, or something like that. So if you're interested in getting a Shack Hack, you'll have to do that research on your own. They both feature a forward and reverse sweep, which is really cool. You do that by pressing the scan buttons up and down on either side. And the same thing with the P-SB7. Let's go ahead and turn this unit on. We have our power button right here to the bottom. And we're on. And these units both have a backlight display. Now, what's really cool about this unit is they've actually added some frequencies that you wouldn't normally get with an AM/FM radio or a Radio Shack Hack. So you've got extra frequencies to scan. Now, unfortunately, with the Radio Shack Hack, you've only got one scan speed. So some people like that, some people do not. With the P-SB7, you actually have multiple scan speeds, and there's a button right here that says sweep rate. And you press that, and I don't know if you can see that, but you can change the sweep rate from 100 milliseconds to 150 to 200, 250, 300, 350, and up to 350 and down to 100. Now with the AM band, same thing, only the sweep rates are a little bit different. It goes from 200 to 500. And a speed adjustment, a lot of people prefer that because in order to make their findings more credible, if it scans faster, then it's going to stay on each radio station a little bit less time, and it's going to limit the contamination. Well, yes and no. See, the thing is, not all radio stations are on just one exact number. Sometimes you can hear the same radio station over several different numbers here. So it's not like one number is a station, the next number is another station. No, it bleeds over several different frequencies. So to me, the changeable speed is cool, but I don't think it makes it any more credible than the original sweep rate. Now, the SB7 has an antenna just as the Radio Shack Hack does. And again, some people like to use the antenna, some people don't. Some people want to get more radio frequencies in, some people want to get less. And I would say the less the better, because the less contamination. But at the same time, there's really no way to determine what's contamination and what's actual spirit voices, assuming this thing does work. On the side here, we have our headphone jack. Now, there's a headphone jack on the Radio Shack Hack as well, but you've got one here that says spout. Well, that's what I thought it said when I first got it. Actually, it says speaker out, so it's got an external speaker, and it also comes with a DC plug that you can plug into the wall and run this off of AC power, which is really cool. Now, it kind of looks like the speaker's on the front of this unit, but actually it's not. The speaker is on the back here, and it does get fairly loud. I'll go ahead and crank this up a little bit and give you an example of the sweep. Now we're on the AM band here. Then we've got our antenna here that we can pull out for a wider range. And you can change the sweep rate as you're sweeping, so that's really cool. As you see, the higher we go, the slower it gets. And as we get down, back down to 200, it speeds up. And the same thing goes for the FM band as well. And another neat little feature of this device, it's got a little hook on the back here if we can pull it out there. Now, you could use this for a couple things. I guess you could hang it up if you wanted to, but the most practical use would be just kind of lay it on its side there and prop it up just a little bit. And both of these units do have the internal speaker, although not all of the Radio Shack Hack models had an internal speaker. But that's the P-SB7, guys. It's about 80 to 100 bucks. So that brings us to our final question. Does it work? Answer? I don't know. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I have heard some convincing things come out of both of the units, but that doesn't mean anything. We are purposely introducing an outside radio frequency for the purpose of recording ghost voices. Now, that's exactly what we try to avoid when we're recording EVP. And no matter how convincing your recordings may sound, they most likely have a natural explanation, and there's no way to prove otherwise. The frequency sweep alone contaminates the recordings, and they will be dismissed by the science-based paranormal community as pareidolia or radio interference 100% of the time. At this point, you have to ask yourself, do I want to further the advancement of paranormal research by making scientific measurements and quality recordings under as controlled of an environment as possible? Or do I want to have a bunch of could-be's that there's no real way of validating because you can't determine what's radio interference and what's potential spirit voices, assuming it did work? if you're serious about paranormal investigation and you've got $80 to $100 to blow, I would recommend saving up just a little bit more and going out and upgrading your voice recorder to a Zoom H2 or something similar to that that records in WAV and has high quality recordings. That's going to be your best bet. I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to thumbs up if you liked the video. Don't forget to comment and share the video and subscribe for more paranormal investigation equipment reviews, ghost hunting 101, and everything paranormal. Thanks for being awesome.